With the new Indigo Disc DLC coming out, we have some awesome new Pokemon that are really exciting when it comes to a Draft League context. And today I want to talk about the Pokemon I am personally most excited to see in the metagame in Gouging Fire, the Paradox version of Entei. Looks like a really awesome Pokemon, and I really want to go over why I think it's going to be an incredible Pokemon and the types of sets you'll see on it and things like that. So if you guys do enjoy these speculative Draft League videos, be sure to drop a like, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers in the next 15 days before the year ends. And if you guys can help us out and hit that sub button, I would super appreciate it. And yeah, with that being said, we can kind of jump in and start talking about Gouging Fire immediately. Now, I think the most important place to start is with what we know about it. Stats, move pool, typing, all that stuff. So, Gouging Fire is a Fire and Dragon type, which is very relevant, and we'll talk about all this stuff once we get all the information out. Fire Dragon typing with the Photosynthesis ability, obviously. It has 105 HP, 115 attack, 121 defense, 65 special attack, 93 special defense, and 91 speed for a base stat total of 590. Now, why is this all so relevant? Well, keep in mind, while being a Fire and Dragon typing, you have pretty much perfect type coverage. It is very difficult for really anything to switch in the combination of Fire plus Dragon. It's also a phenomenal defensive type, really showing up a lot of the weaknesses that Fires and Dragons have on their own. Dragons are weak to Dragons, which you're still weak to, but also Ice and Fairy, you are now neutral to those moves. Water, which you would normally be neutral with Fire, you're usually weak to with Fire, you are now neutral to, which is obviously great. And you obviously pack some incredible resistances, a 4 times resistance to grass, things like that. You do have a rock and a ground weakness, but I think that's very patchable and very, it's something that we can definitely work around when it comes to Gouging Fire and things like that. Now, Photosynthesis is also incredible. This means that its highest stat will be boost in the sun. Now, typically that is going to be attack, but you can also boost defense in the sun, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. When you take that into account, alongside Fire Stab, which is boosted in the sun, this Pokemon is going to be incredibly powerful alongside sun Pokemon like Torkoal and Ninetales, really allowing this thing to either nuke through teams or be incredibly defensive. You can even get a special defense boost if you're running specially defensive Gouging Fire. And I know it seems weird to talk about this thing defensively because it is, inherently offensive Pokemon on paper, but trust me, this thing is going to be incredibly versatile. Now, let's go ahead and go through its move pool. We're going to go ahead and just, list off all relevant moves. We can go ahead and talk about its signature move first, Burning Bulwark. What Burning Bulwark is it's basically a Baneful Bunker, which is Toxic's signature move in the sense that when you protect, it inflicts a status condition, but in this case, it is going to be burn if the target makes contact with you. So, Pokemon trying to click U-turn, trying to hit you with a knockoff and get rid of your heavy-duty boots or whatever it may be, are going to have to take a burn if they attack into you. And that's really unfortunate. Now, it is on contact if I'm remembering correctly, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, other than that, let's talk about the moves. We obviously have Dragon Claw. We get Dragon Dance for setup. Earthquake is a great way of hitting opposing rock types, which are going to be fire resistant, especially like a lot of physically defensive ones. You have Flame Charge to boost your speed if you need to as well. Flare Blitz and Heat Crash are going to be your main 2 stab options when it comes to your offensive side of things. Iron Head is, solid coverage every once in a while. Again, maybe there's that, rock type that doesn't take damage from ground moves, I guess. Maybe it's Levitate, maybe it's Air Balloon, whatever it may be. But regardless, Iron Head's still nice coverage if I really need to nuke through a fairy. We also have access to Outrage. We have access to Morning Sun, which is going to be a big one, and we will talk about that here in a second. We have access to Psychic Fangs. We have access to Protect, which you're never going to use. Scale Shot, and then you get moves like Stone Edge as well. You can substitute. You get Temper Flare, which is also like a neutral mid-ground fire coverage option if you don't want to have recoil from Flare Blitz, and mons are pretty heavy that you're going to be fire attacking into. You get Temper Flare, then you obviously can Terra Blast as well, which is really cool. Now, with all of these things together, what's going to make Burning Bulwark so good in Draft League? Well, I think it's going to be the offensive potential, right? When we have Pokemon with this crazy dual step combination with the Sun boost potentially, right? With 115 base attack and Dragon Dancing up and Flare Blitz / Heat Crashing and things like that, it's going to be very powerful as an endgame sweeper. Even with a Choice Band, this thing is going to nuke through teams and be really scary. I think Terra Fire is going to be demonically strong with Choice Band variants. But more so, what I'm so excited about is this Pokemon's defensive application. Whether that being a defensive check to Pokemon, or whether it being a really bulky DD sweeper. It really reminds me of Mega Charizard X, not in just the typing, but in how bulky it is. Mega Charizard X is actually less bulky on paper than this thing. I think Charizard X has more, Charizard X does it have more, it has more special defense. Charizard X has a stat spread of 78 HP, 111 defense, and 85 speed def. No, Burning Bulwark is, Gouging Fire is just bulkier in every single way. On top of that, you can run heavy duty boots, so you do not have to worry about rocks on the switch in. And on top of that, you can Morning Sun, especially if the sun is up, that's 75% recovery. This thing is going to be so obnoxious, it's going to find so many setup opportunities. I really think that this genuinely might be the best of the three, Gen 2 Paradox mons. Raging Bolt and Walking Wake are great, but I am so optimistic about Gouging Fire and how good this thing really might be. Now, what are some stats you can see on this thing? Like we said, I think one set you might see is a just offensive DD set with like DD, Heat Crash / Flare Blitz, the Dragon Claw, and then either Earthquake or Terra Blast. I can see Terra Fairy being really solid in this as well, because Fire plus Fairy is unguardable, especially in the sun. And Terra Fairy is just a good defensive typing in general, so I can totally see this thing running Terra Fairy. On top of that, you could see a more defensive or a more bulky Dragon Dance variant with Heat Crash, Morning Sun, Dragon Dance, and then either Earthquake or Terra Blast. You probably go forego Dragon coverage in that slot. But again, you can go Dragon coverage if you want, because your dual stabs are really, really hard to deal with in all honesty. So I could definitely see that coming. And then I could even see physically or specially defensive variants being a nuisance. You can go Heat Crash, Morning Sun, either Dragon Tail or Earthquake, and then like a Burning Bulwark to, bait burns on things and be obnoxious in that regard. I mean, this Pokemon will be incredible, especially like T-Spikes plus Gouging Flame, like a fat defensive Gouging Flame could be really, really solid in my opinion. Like, I really do like this Pokemon a lot. I think it's going to fit very well on Sun teams, and I think it does a lot more than people are going to be giving it credit for. I really think this Pokemon in a Draft League setting specifically, maybe not an OU, but in a Draft League setting specifically is going to be incredible. I could even see niche like Fire Spin Burning Bulwark sets doing really well here too. I think especially if it can Terra, this Pokemon's going to be very, very powerful. And it's Pokemon that's really on my radar for these early draft leagues. I really want to use this guy. I think he's going to be absolutely awesome. And he obviously has a really, really cool shiny. But let me know what you guys think of Gouging Fire in the comments below. Let me know if what Pokemon you're most excited to see in draft league that are, that are coming back, or are like, straight up new Pokemon and things like that. Let me know which mon you want me to cover next when it comes to covering these Pokemon and their role in draft league. And yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Drop a sub if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.